Intergénération Canada, un collectif de gens ordinaires qui demande à ce que le gouvernement canadien instaure un comité de protection face aux désastres climatiques pour protéger la population canadienne. All right, there you have it. Right? This is in Canada. I'm watching it really for the first time. I did post this video on my first video, my rough draft video. So I did post it, but this is really the first time I kind of paid attention to it. Um, there's so much to get into today that I just had to bring this up. I just wanted to bring up this really quick. It's kind of like it wasn't in the plans, but I want to talk about this. I want to talk a little bit about tariffs. But um, first of all, uh, the problem with these people that these so-called activists, it's kind of like they ain't got no jobs. I mean, how is it that people are protesting all over the United States, and I guess this is in Canada, but how do you get all these people protesting? Like, who's paying for this? I mean, I think that's a logical question to ask. Um, it doesn't make any sense. And like I said, I think we have to look at this generation that believes in these kind of things. Like, see, right here, these ones are fighting for the climate change and all that. And honestly, they grew up in a school system where these liberal teachers were telling them for a long time about how we're destroying the planet and these type of things. And sadly, a lot of these young people, with no help from the parents, believe these things. I'm not saying, like, they changed the name. Anyone that knows about this whole climate, and I'm going to call it somewhat of a hoax, and I'll get to that. But let's think about this. It used to be called the greenhouse effect. That's what they used to call it, and because I guess the planet was warming up, and that's what they felt. Um, but then they changed it to climate change because things weren't going to plan. Like, places started cooling down, and they were like, "Hey, we're looking like a bunch of dumbasses." That's what the scientists were looking around and telling each other, like, we're looking like idiots. No one's believing us, or they're not going to believe us. So we need to push this agenda, and we'll just call it climate change. This way, we can cover all the bases. When things happen bad, we'll focus on it, and we'll just hit it hard, hit it hard, hit it hard in the media, and tell people it's climate change, man. It's climate change. We're destroying the planet. People are destroying the planet. Too many cars, too many people. The population's too high, and they feed this narrative. And there's reasons why they do this. First, the first reason always gonna be money. I can't stand that people try to act like money doesn't run their life. Like, you have these people that think they're above that when they're not. Scientists want to get funding too. They want to do their job. If we didn't have all these uh, grants to give out, there would be less people that would want to be scientists. You know what I mean? But right now we have an overflow of them, and they need jobs, and they help each other. They network, and they get into these fields, and they study. A lot of times they study nonsense. We're finding that out, right, with Doge. They're studying nonsense, but I think the climate thing, it's a hoax. Why would I say that? Why would I say that? Well, first of all, I'm going to say you shouldn't try to be destroying your planet, right? You should pick up your trash, throw things away. We should be looking for inventions to try to, like, have something better than plastic, right? That we put our food and everything in, because you know how plastic takes forever to deteriorate. We should either be focusing on technologies to make better containers, or things that eat away plastic. I have no problem with those type of things, and I think most people would agree. Of course, you don't want to trash where you live, but to say that people are the main reason for the planet having its issues with climate, to me, that's it's stupid. It's like what these people always do. They hyperbolically make things bigger than they are, fear monger to get people to believe it, and I don't believe it. I don't believe it, and I'll tell you why. There's only so much we can do. People can do. The Earth is huge, and it's got a lot. It's got a lot of resources. It has a lot of things to offer. And like I said, can you damage certain things, I think you need to look at it this way. If you have a cup of water and you put like say a drop of a deadly chemical, some type of poison, um, yeah, most likely somebody's gonna die or get severely sick. But what if you got that same drop, just a drop, right, like a teardrop, and you throw that in a bathtub, and somebody drinks a drink of that water? Obviously, depending on what it is, it still might make them sick, but the amount of water in there is going to dilute it to the point where you're probably not going to get sick. And that's the way I look at climate change. There's parts of this world, and a lot of parts, okay? Because you have to think about the population itself. You can put the whole population of the world probably in the state of Texas. The point being is there's plenty of parts on this planet where you could go and you can see the stars and the air's beautiful and crystal clear. Um, I'm just trying to say is I think we're a little arrogant to think that we're destroying the planet. Like I said, I think we can do some damage here and there, but overall, there's bigger factors at work here. And I'm not a climate scientist, but you can basically you don't need to be a scientist to just look at things and see things and kind of use the eyeball test. If you can process information in your mind, you're not a Looney Tune. Um, you can get pretty far. There's a lot of things. I mean, a lot of things are pretty just need uh, common knowledge. So what I'm trying to say is, I can't. I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to tell you this and this and that. But what I can say is, listening to these same scientists and historians and stuff like that, the planet's supposedly been around for so long, and they track the cycles of weather patterns, and we've had ice ages, we've had times where the weather has changed, it's been hotter, been colder. So what's to say that we're not going through something like that right now? You know what I mean? Not to mention, we don't cause the sun to have issues. So why is the sun, when it throws out its solar flares, that causes issues? We have nothing to do with that. How about volcanoes, earthquakes? Could we have? I believe maybe there's a possibility we can cause an earthquake if we're drilling for oil in a certain section or whatever. Obviously, if you're pulling something out of the earth, something has to fill it, so you get sinkholes, and there's things we can do, and that's pretty obvious. But like I said, going back to these activists, um, they take it to the extreme and they don't do anything. There's nothing that they do to benefit the world besides painting buildings, painting a Tesla building. Like, how is that doing anything for anybody? All you do is aggravate people. Nobody's looking at you and saying, "Yeah, we're with you." You aggravate people because the majority of people live day to day. They have regular jobs and they're trying to feed their families and stuff like that. And you got these kids thinking like, "What? You think you're gonna bring down these multi-million-dollar businesses? Like your impact is pathetic and low. There is no impact. I would say there is no impact from these people like Greta Thunberg. They don't do anything. They don't contribute to anything. And I don't know where they get the funding that they can run around everywhere and do this nonsense. If you want to make a difference, you go to college, you go to school, you run for office, and you try to get in there. The more educated people that get into office, that's what you need to do. You try to change laws, and that's how you do it. You don't do it by painting buildings and damaging people's cars to try to make your point. And I think it's crazy that the left and the media um, really just allow things like this. I mean, just looking at some of this stuff, right? This guy right here, look at him scratching the car. I mean, there's so many videos. Like I said, I already posted a video like this, but all these things that go on, and the left just allows it. They don't say much on the media about it. Um, it's sad, you know, because they may not be straight out pushing for violence or vandalism, but by not saying anything, you're kind of allowing it. Come on. And like I said, a lot of times the people that are getting hurt are people on the ground. They're just people that are trying to live their life. And you, like, how do you expect to gain, sympathy for your causes? Because it just doesn't work. It's stupid. And the problem is, like I said, it's an institutional thing. It's 100% a parental thing. People just, the generation before just didn't raise good kids. Um, and I think obviously people laugh when I say this or really get upset. But the honest truth is when you stop spanking your children, like really disciplining your children, I think this is what led the way to this whole society where you put your kid in a corner or something. Like it does have an effect. I'm not saying there's no place for that, but spanking, um, teaching your kids severe punishment. Not obviously. See, when I say these things, there's always going to be people that take it to the extreme. No, I'm not saying beat the hell out of your kids. No, what I'm saying is when I took psychology, which is a liberal study, it at the time when I took it. It talked about spanking, how effective it was. You just didn't do it very often, and when you did it, you made sure it hurt enough to the point where you got your point across. And we don't do that anymore. We coddle. That's what we do. We coddle, or we don't raise our kids. Period. Adults are just too busy wanting to live their life when they have children, which I would tell you is is a biblical thing. We're deteriorating as a country because we have bad parenting. We don't teach about God, and then you get a bunch of psychos. You know what I mean? We get a bunch of people that just they think they're doing a good cause and they're not because they don't know what good is. They don't know what evil is. They go off raw emotion, and whoever planted those emotions in them, they're gonna feel that they're doing something that's positive when it's not. You know what I mean? Like anybody can be turned into a terrorist and do evil acts. If you get a kid young enough and you want to brainwash him from when he's young and teach him that I'm serving Allah by cutting, a Christian's head off, he's probably not going to have a lot of remorse when he gets older and he does that. So you have to come to grips that in a sense everyone has been brainwashed. You grew up and you learn a certain way, and teaching about Christianity brings brings about, I believe, the best people. um I mean, because when you read the Bible is nothing but good. People like to try to blame the Bible on a lot of the world's ills, right? They try to bring up the past. Oh, look at all these things done, these evil, corrupt things done in the name of God, in the name of Jesus. But it's not true. If you really read the Bible, and a lot of people say they read the Bible, but they don't. I've read it only once. I go back and forth in it, but I've only read it once. So I'm not a scholar and I'm not a preacher. But what I can tell you is if you want a relationship, God will give you the wisdom. And you may not learn everything in your first read through. There's going to be a lot of things that pertain to you, and those things will stick out, and God will explain them to you. Then there's going to be things that don't really stick out. You know what I mean? So it's obviously it's a process reading the Bible and learning a lot of things. But there's a lot of people that say they read the Bible and they don't. There's a lot of people that try to form the Bible around their life so they can get away with nonsense. And then there's the reality of what the Bible is, and then what you do and who you are as a person. So what I'm saying by that is I'm not a perfect person. I know what the Bible says, and I believe it's the inspired word of God. And I know exactly what it wants me to do. Do I always follow 100%? No, not at all. You know what I mean? I think you give it your best. You try, but people fail. And if you had a relationship with God, you would know a lot of the Bible is about the failures of man because we fail. And so I think a lot of these people, like going, how I circle it back into how you get these people that these young minds, mostly, and we got like right now in America, right? The liberals are the wacky ones. They're the ones that are, you know, they cause chaos, right? They're the child pouting that wants to get their way, and if you don't give them their way, they smash and break things because the parent doesn't put a stop to it. And like I said in that last video, which I wasn't all that good. I'm hoping that I did better this time around, but Basically, um, this is how violence ends up happening. But this is what they want, I believe. This whole thing with the Teslas and the acting out, right? It's what they want. They want um they want somebody that maybe um isn't as calm and normal as a lot of us, and they'll react in a different way, and that way is most likely going to be violent. You know, that someone's going to get hurt, someone's going to get killed, something of that nature, and that's what, to me, that's what they want. They want to splatter it all over TV, the news, 24/7. It's just their propaganda way of trying to get the independence, because they have their people, and no matter what, their people are always going to believe what they say. But the goal is always to get that independent, get the independent minds going in their direction. Just like right now, right? The tariffs. That's the big thing, the tariffs. And so I bookmarked all these things they're saying. Like right here, Trump put tariffs on Ukraine and all U.S. allies. Trump imposed no tariffs on Russia. Trump is a Russian asset. So you've been getting a lot of these, right? Since the whole talk of the tariffs, all this fear mongering. He's taking sides. Um, I saw this one. This is ridiculous. 510 million federal funding to Brown University. I thought Brown University was private, but even if it isn't, I mean, 510 million, like, whoa, that's excessive on the taxpayer there. Um, but like you had a lot of these things going around, right? They try to push. Oh, look, at there's no tariffs on Russia. What's going on? Why is Trump putting all the tariffs on everybody else but not Russia? You've seen it everywhere. Look at which country is missing in the list of USA tariffs. Russia, right? But and I didn't even research this. I didn't research this, but the first time I saw it, the first thing I thought was, well, I thought we have sanctions on Russia. If we have sanctions on Russia, technically we're not even supposed to be really trading with Russia. I mean, maybe there's something where we get some type of fuel or something. I really don't know, but I don't believe we're actually trading with Russia. You know what I mean? Like I said, if we are trading with them, it must be. It's definitely not. I don't remember ever walking into a store and seeing a Russian brand of anything. I don't see Russian TVs. I don't see anything. So I'm not quite sure what we trade with Russia. If we trade anything, we have sanctions on them, as far as I know. So I think this is what I mean about the propaganda. I don't believe this shit. I think this is all baloney. I think they want people to believe this, and well, look at, see, because that's what they do. The left does this all the time. They did this the last time. They push these crazy narratives and try to get people to believe it. That the two impeachments, right? The RussiaGate, false, right? Hillary Clinton and the spying on Trump's campaign, and her setting in motion the whole you know, RussiaGate thing. It's like they do this all the time, and they never correct anything when they're wrong. We know that, right? The whole thing with Trump and the trying to make him look like he was racist and all that, which is, it's just stupid. It's stupid, and I don't know what my audience is going to be. I don't know how long it's going to take to get an audience. I barely started. I've read and heard from so many, and some of my favorite podcasts and stuff, that 5 years, 6 years before I maybe get a break in any type of audience. But if any young people are hearing this, like, you really have to do your due diligence. Like, you just got to put it together. And I fear for a lot of the young minds, because, like I said, if you're not being brought up learning anything about God, right? Because and everyone's trying to replace God. You get them replaced by UFOs, right? Aliens seeded the planet and all that. And I think I mentioned this in the last video, but if I didn't, I'll mention it now. I've always been in the mysteries of the world. That's a topic that I love. Informator.com. It's largely based off things like that. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and just show you my page. Um, I've always been into like conspiracies and, like I said, UFOs and the mysteries of the Bible. I mean, all those things since an early age, and I'm older. And when you're older like me, you get to see that progression of the internet, and you get to see how things get changed. Things get changed, like information gets exchanged on the internet, and it can replace older, probably more accurate information. Now, obviously, there is some things that change for the better and are more accurate, but there is a lot of things that change. You could go to a library back in my day and get some information, and then when the internet came out, those pages or things that you've read, the information was the same, and you got more of it, and it was awesome. But as the years go along, people start to replace things. It's the same things with words. They change the definition of words. For example, there was always those people that try to say the Bible mentions unicorns in the mentions unicorn. There's unicorns in the Bible, and they'll try to like talk smack about the Bible. Like, look, why would you believe the Bible? There's unicorns in it, and we all know the unicorn today as the horse, right? The horse, the mythical horse with the horn out of its head, and you can add wings or not. I don't know when the wings came in or if they were always there, but that's what we know today as a unicorn. So they try to say that in the past, but the old Webster dictionary, like early before the 1900s, you know, or the modern age, I believe unicorn was, at least at the time, I thought I read that it was some type of rhino, but I think it's now considered an ox. Let's see. Let me ask Chatty real quick. Hey, Chatty, you there? Chatty, you there?
I'm here, Anthony. What's up?
I asked you this before, but just so you can explain it to my audience, the whole unicorn in the Bible thing, the unicorn isn't the horse, right? If we look back to the old definition, a Webster dictionary definition, wasn't the unicorn some type of ox or a rhino?
That's right. The term unicorn in older translations of the Bible, like the King James Version, referred to a creature that's not the mythical horse we think of today. It likely described an animal like an aurochs, which was a type of wild ox, or possibly a rhinoceros. The Hebrew word reem is what got translated to unicorn, and it referred to a strong horned animal, so not a magical horse.
Okay, I'm gonna revert back to the audience right real quick. So, see, what I'm telling you is how things get changed. Words get changed over time. Chatty, would you agree with me that words, definitions, kind of get changed over time, and information on the internet as well gets changed? So right now, you AI models, you guys just pick stuff off the internet, and it could change from year to year. I mean, like say 10 years from now, your definition of some things, if you guys, the model stays similar, will might have a different definition than 10 years earlier. Correct?
Absolutely. Definitions and interpretations can evolve over time. Language shifts, and so does the information available online. AI models, which are trained on that information, reflect those changes. So, yeah, if we look at a definition or concept 10 years from now, it might be different from what we understand today.
Okay, so I'm trying to tell my audience how important it is because when it comes to AI models and stuff, it's not good enough just to ask AI. I mean, you can ask it specific questions. What's 1,000 times a million 54, things like that. But if you don't know how to ask questions or to dig deep, you may not get the answers or correct answers that you're looking for. Is that correct?
You're right, Anthony. AI can provide quick answers to straightforward questions, but for more nuanced or in depth topics, it's crucial to dig deeper and cross check information. Context matters, and not all answers are set in stone. It's always good to combine AI insights with other reliable sources.
Okay, thank you. That's it for now.
You're welcome, Anthony. Anytime.
So see my point there. I know I went a little bit off to the side, but I use AI, and all I was trying to say is that if you don't know how to ask AI even the right questions, you may not get the most accurate information. And all I was trying to say is I've been into these things for a long time, studying UFOs and um, a lot of the mysteries of the world. Doesn't mean I'm a professional in anything. I'm just trying to say I studied it all, and then the Bible to me is the most fascinating and it's the truest. And I would tell you today, a lot of young people, as I was stating earlier, they get the information, they get things that replace God, right? You think the UFO community doesn't believe in God because someone told them UFOs did it, and then it's like the Bigfoot community, all these communities they're so easily enticed into believing certain things and they'll read that literature or whatever, but when it comes to the Bible a lot of people just want to disregard it. They won't read it, so they'll just guess information. They'll get that cherry picked answers you get from a lot of these people that are trying to make their points, because that's another thing, right? You always have to consider your source. I mean, where's the information coming from? Are these people being biased or whatnot? Um so as I was saying, um here's my site. If you want to go there, I'll throw that in really quick. Theinforminator.net. Like I said, I got some really cool stories there, and I'm hoping to expand and have more stuff out soon. But as you see right here, I have the Pope and the prophecy, because he was very sick not too long ago. Um, you know, I know a lot of people have heard about these things. Some people haven't, but this is the kind of tone. And this right here, if you notice at the top, it says the outer edge. You got Apocalypse Today, the evil of politics. Um, I just have, like I said, it's a work in progress, but I'm just trying to give some fun history out there, and I love ancient history, and like I said, the Bible, and give out some things out there, and maybe get some people interested also in learning about the Bible and what God means to people's life. Because ultimately, the reason I'm doing this stuff is because um I would like people to know a little bit more about God. Now, like I said, I'm not a perfect guy, and I'm not talking it so much as like a preacher, because I'm not. There's some really good people out there like Ruslan. I know he has a Bible channel. There's Jones, I think Nick Jones, and there's a lot of guys. There's Wesley Huff, who's very educated. There's plenty of that. Like I said, I'm speaking from a different level. You know, I, in a lot of ways, a lower level. Like I said, I'm not perfect, but um, if I can open someone's eyes a little bit to how God fits in this whole crazy picture that we have right now, that's what I kind of want to do, and I hope to keep it interesting. So let's go back here to my I want to get to my Notion page. Okay. The uncomfortable truth. This is episode 1. Me, AP, and Chatty, and here are my topics today. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get into this stuff right here. Try to get this done quick. Okay, so man suits for women. Okay, so I saw this on um on Twitter, and it showed these suits, right? And shows Melania Trump and other movie stars, and I guess they're trying to push this whole women in suits. And I know when I say it, people are going to be like, "Man, I think you're going to stretch too far." But the reason why this thing got me is because of it reminds me of the of our society, and I'm going to speak specifically about the United States because that's where I'm from. Whenever you make a foundation, like for a house, you make your cement foundation. Over time, you may get some cracks, and time longer, decade, 15 years later, those cracks can turn into breaks, and you might, be losing some stone and so forth. If it's on the edge, maybe you lose the edge of your cement foundation over time. And when I saw this article, which I didn't read because I didn't need to, um, I just because it's not making a difference to my point. um, which is I don't like this. I don't like this whole women in suits, and I'll tell you why. Um, to me, if you notice at the bottom there, see it says "A Puyo." Follow me there. Um, if you want, I troll a little bit. I do, but I also try to make some sense of things. But anyways, I put down there at the bottom, Satanism at work, making it cool for women to wear suits. That's what it would say, and I think this is like it really is Satanism at work, and it's like I said, you may think I'm going extreme, but that's because you don't understand the context. You have to understand that when you are trying to destroy a society, a culture, or anything, you slowly put things in. You slowly deteriorate the things they stand for, and before you know it, as time passes, they may have lost some of their core beliefs. Um, you may have transformed them to the point that when they have children and further generations, they'll be more lawless. And when I look at this, women in suits, like that's man's clothing, right? And here's how I relate that to the Bible, because I know if you're asking where is he going with this, right here, this is the King James version of the Bible. It's what I like to read. King James version light is a good alternative. It says here, Deuteronomy 22:5. The women shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For all that do so are for all that do so are abominations unto the Lord thy God. Um, I'll leave that there. Uh, I know Chatty has his thing at the bottom, but let me tell you, God's telling you right there. God mentions it. And when God mentions things like that, you should take it serious. And I know a lot of people like want to think they know more than God in that wisdom, but they don't. Um, you know, God put that there for a reason, and I think the reason is that this is how. And here's the thing about the Bible: when you read about the Bible, you'll, especially in the Old Testament, you'll see how Israel, um, you know, they would go with God and learn God's ways. God would walk with them, and they would learn God's ways. And whenever God wasn't there, He left. Um, you know, it's like the generations that didn't see them slowly started to not believe it, and they would start to do things that got them out of the ways that God had put for them, so they can, stay doing good things and not becoming a lawless people. But these things would start to sneak in because that's what Satanism is. That's what the devil does. He breaks you down little by little, and then until you're lawless. And so when you see these women wearing these dresses, to me that's all it does. It's basically trying to get women to be more like men. It's a slow, subtle thing that gets you to look at them differently. I think it confuses men. I think um, um, it could get you. It's like maybe like say like porn or gateway drugs. You slowly start to look at other people differently. Men may look at men differently. I know that sounds far fetched, but I mean, come on, man. If you're on social media, you can see there's so much weird crap that's going on, right? Like all these trends, like they're trying to say that Gen Zers are now into like like letting other men sleep with their wives, and like it's this trend, and that's what they're trying to push. I mean, the media likes to do that. They like to like put the ideas into people's heads, and that's what Satanism is. It's about putting ideas in your head to get you lawless. But things like this, I think, lead to that. Like the whole it's cross dressing. It's cross dressing. I don't care. They make it fit the woman. It's still cross dressing. Wasn't it Will Smith's son that was wearing women's dresses? And he was, you know what I mean? Like he's taking pictures on a red carpet, and they're trying to push it at. Look at how fashionable this is. Like it's okay for men to wear dresses and or boys. And this thing, it's the same thing. It's just the same message, but it's for women and for girls. They try to get them to change. It's just a way to manipulate and to um what's the right word, to just was it denigrate yourself, to defile the human being, to go against God. That's what it is. And like I said, to any of you non-believers, that's fine. If you don't want to believe it, you don't want to believe it. But this is what, when someone reads the Bible and trying to get a relationship, God kind of lets you know these things, and you feel it, and you'll feel that this is accurate because you see it in your everyday life, and you see it right now on social media. You see it in society, the breaking down of morality. That's what you're seeing. You witness it, and a lot of people can't put it together. Like, how do we get to this spot? Like, how did we get from boys and girls playing sports to women till men dressing like women and reading books to school children, and now men playing women's sports? Like, how did we get there? Sometimes these things are gradual, with things like this article right here, right? It could be gradual. It happens over time, and some people can't put it together. But the Bible told us a long time ago. Any true Christian, any Christian that really pays attention to the word, that wants to know the word, they know that these things were going to happen. These things are going to take place. What did Jesus say? The times were going to be like the times of Noah towards the end. You know, and I'm not saying we're in the end. Not saying we're not. All I'm saying is this thing right here: women wearing clothes. These are things we need to watch out for. These are things we need to um, be on the lookout for. It's not good, and mostly you got to teach your family, because we're becoming a society where you can't speak out a lot, right? Because if you do, people try to harm you, just like the Teslas. They destroy your Tesla. Who wants to buy a Tesla now? Because you're going to be worried that it's going to get damaged. You know what I mean? If you say things out in public, or if you say these things, someone's going to try to arrest you, like in the UK or in Canada, because you're talking hate when you're not. You're not talking about hating anybody at all. You're just pointing out something you see that you know that that is not normal. That is against the natural laws of the world. So not even just a religious thing. It could be a scientific thing. Like, scientifically, right? Um, you can't have two people that are the same sex can't have a child. Scientifically, that tells you that. But yet, even now, the scientists are trying to turn on that. Like, it's so weird and so crazy, but that's part of the deterioration. Anyways, so I'll move off that, but that's where I just wanted to make that clear, my stance on it, and as crazy as it sounds, and that's why I picked that topic. Like, it means something. It does. Um, some of these may not get into. Uh, let's talk about the teachers. I found this one strange. Has anyone been noticing this trend of women teachers molesting young boys? Like, what's this all about? You know, um, it's strange. It should be strange. I put a note in here. So look at this. According to press reports, more than 25 female teachers have been arrested for sexually abusing students in 16 states in the past year alone. That's a pretty big number. I mean, I know there's millions of people in the United States, but that's a number of people who've been caught. And you know how it works, right? I mean, if 25 people are caught, I'm sure the number is much larger, because most people don't get caught. That's just the way it is. So I think it's a disturbing trend. Also, a lot of these teachers are younger. They're like between, say, 20, 22, 23 to, like, say, 35. Once again, we're seeing a generational issue here. Um, it could be It could always have been this way, and it's just being more reported. I know that that's an argument some people will use, and that I'm not gonna say there's no truth to that, but um, either way, it's pretty disturbing. I mean, I had a post here I just clipped, even though I already had a. See, look at this one. Moment married Illinois special ed teacher. Special ed teacher. This is another trend. We're starting to see more teachers messing with the special, special children, children that have some type of disabilities or mental disabilities. Accused of raping a student, 15, breaks down after learning charges. I mean, what's going on, man? What do you think's going on? Remember the lawless thing I was telling you? Remember what Jesus said? Days would be like Noah. I mean, it's getting worse. And like I said, you can always use that argument. It only sounds like it's getting worse, just being reported. Well, we live in those times then. The problem with human beings is that if we get exposed to too much of something, some people, weaker minds than others, because we're all different in that way, they start to, you know, copy what they've seen. And I believe that's a fact. Um, if you're putting your mind where it shouldn't be, right, in filthy areas like porn or whatever, I mean, you may want to act out those things. And if they're showing you things that you're not into, maybe you will get into them. Like I said, it's not for everybody, right? But that's not the point here. The point here is that for all the normal people out there, you're having to deal with these things more and more. And some people could easily brush this off and say, "So what? It ain't affecting my life. I go to work. I don't have any of these problems near me." But what if you did? What if you do have children someday? What if you do have a family someday and you got to deal with some type of act of violence, right? Because you're driving a car that people hate the manufacturer and you had nothing to do with it, and they kill your wife or your child or something. Like, who wants to be around that? Who wants to live with that? And like I said, you can never get away with it all, get away from that all. But I think these things that we're seeing, I think they're just they're growing. The episodes of this kind of conduct is growing, and it's scary, eye opening. So I don't know. I think it's weird. Like I said, I think porn has a lot to do with it. I think the younger generations are heavily into porn because when I was young and there was no internet, you'd have to get a nudie magazine, and they were hard to get. But somebody always did know somebody. Somebody knew somebody that knew somebody that their uncle or somebody had some dirty magazines in their bed, under their bed or something. So but the point is that it was more difficult to get nudie magazines and stuff like that. And today everybody has it on their phones. There's no regulation of it, and that's why I think that's what contributes to this kind of stuff. Obviously, there's no God isn't in these people's lives either, or else they wouldn't do these type of things. But if you don't want to look at the biblical view of it, I think drugs, porn, um, and then just the human condition right now. There's so many lonely um, people that don't have no wisdom, and that's another great argument for the Bible. Is the Bible talks about knowledge and wisdom and how knowledge is great, right? It's great to learn things, but that it doesn't supersede wisdom. Wisdom is even more powerful. And what's really special about that argument is that you don't need to be a scholar in math or a rocket scientist um, or any of those things. Like, you don't have to have that kind of knowledge to be worth something, to be to get somewhere in life, even if it's just on the spiritual level. The point being is, a rocket scientist may know a lot about rockets and all that great stuff, and he'll make a good living. But if you have the wisdom of God, you're going to know how to put everything all together, and you're just going to have a happier, more fulfilled life. And it's true, but I can't. I mean, there's ways to prove it to you, but it's a journey that a person's going to have to take at some point in their life if they want to learn that. And it's always going to be a choice. That's just the way it is. It has to be a choice. A lot of Christians don't even like that. They don't like that message, but it is. It's a choice because that's we know that. We know that from the Garden of Eden. It is a choice. It's either you want to be with God or you don't. There's plenty of parts in the Bible that tell you what happens if you don't want to be a part of it. Then you're going to go your own route, and then hey, it is what it is. Um, so I feel that's a disturbing trend going on right now. Real quick, I wanted to bring up my the weekly brief. This is something I'm working on right here, and I'll read this little thing I wrote down for it. Welcome to the weekly brief. In a world where headlines come and go at lightning speed, it's easy to miss the stories that matter most. The weekly brief is your weekly breakdown of the biggest, strangest, and most intriguing news from around the globe. Each edition compiles top stories across politics, world events, science, archaeology, and the usual. Handpicked to fit the Informator's mission of delivering thought provoking content, this is your standard news roundup. I had to pause right there and drink some of my coffee. We cut through the noise to bring you key developments with a sharp focus on what's really going on behind the headlines. Whether it's government scandal, a shocking archaeological discovery, or an event that mainstream media won't highlight, the weekly brief keeps you informed and questioning. Click the links, dive deeper, and stay ahead of the narrative. If you're a busy person and don't have time to go far beyond the headline, this brief is for you. Get your story in 2 paragraphs or less. Subscribe and get your weekly brief. Let me show you real quick what that is. Here it is. So what I did is, and I think this is going to catch on because so many people don't have time, right? I mean, headlines is pretty much what a lot of people read. I don't know what the percentage is, but I know it's a lot. And today everyone wants clicks, so a headline could be really, really misleading, and people think they got good information, and the story may almost be the opposite of what the headline is. So what I try to do here is you click on my weekly brief, and you'll get top stories that happen throughout the week, and it'll try to compact all the information there and give you what's the most accurate at the time of the story. So you can see here we got the Signal group chat leak. It tells you what happened there. The new tariffs. Um, you know, Screen time. This was interesting right here. I'll read this real quick. Global birth rates are declining across cultures, and increased screen time may be a contributing factor. The pervasive use of dating apps, social media, and digital entertainment is diverting attention from forming relationships. A significant number of young adults, particularly Gen Z, are single and not seeking partners. This trend has prompted discussions about technology's role in forecasting digital solitude and its impact on social structures. So this is really cool. See, so you kind of get the whole thing. Like that was the headline. That's a headline that was picked that's somewhere on the internet. It could be anywhere. It can be from the NPR, the New York Post, New York Times, whatever. And so what I do here is I gather that and I give you the whole story in 2 paragraphs or less. And I think that it'd be very beneficial. You can get a lot of stories in if you like to be in the know. I think this is cool. But that's an interesting little story there about the declining birth rates. That's something that I guess you can kind of relate that to the whole teacher thing. But that's something that we'll be talking about eventually. Anyway, so there's that. That's what the weekly brief is. I hope you go to the informator.com and sign up. Sign up for the newsletter. I don't send stuff to you all the time. I don't do it that way. I'm very busy. I do a lot of things. But maybe once a month, I'll send you an email with what's going on. So I won't bombard you. I don't do that. Just same thing if you follow me on Twitter. If you want to follow me there, I'll post my stuff here and there. But I'm hoping organically people will just start finding it and finding it interesting, and maybe they'll pass it along themselves. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But that's where we're at right now. It's everything is new that I'm doing, so we'll see how it goes. Uh, I ain't gonna talk about the judges, but we know what's been going on with Trump, and I guess I'll just hit on this a little bit. So we know about the judges and how they're Trump is trying to do his executive orders, and they're getting blocked. A lot of them are getting blocked by liberal judges. Some of them ain't liberal though, but most of them are. But it brings into question the deep state because you see that game plan that's been going on. It's been going on since his first presidency, and then when he was out, right? They tried to impeach him with fake news, and then when he wasn't in office, they tried to get him, arrest him, and put him in jail. Not so much because he was doing bad things, because I'm not going to say that Trump is perfect. He obviously did some crimes and stuff, and I'm sure he has crimes, Um, but it was the disturbing way they were trying to get him because they were trying to do what banana republics do, which is stop their nemesis or stop someone from running for office that's popular with the people. He was against their agendas in so many ways. That's why a lot of people believe he's against the deep state and not with it, because it's noticeable to see when they're with the deep state, because it their executive orders, and I say they because obviously you can look at Bush, right? The Bushes and the wars, right? Going these money, um, these money grabbing wars to grab resources. A lot of us were against the Bush invasions and all those things, and we saw what Obama did when he was in office. Like they do things a little differently to make you feel there's two parties, but a lot of times we felt like there wasn't two parties. They were both the same. They just like to give you this make you believe there's two parties, right? To give you this fake narrative that there's two parties to make you feel you have a choice, but you never really felt you had a choice. I know a lot of people don't believe that. It's crazy how they flipped the Republicans and Democrats. There was a time where Democrats actually believed in God, and you know, th- they weren't for a lot of things that they are now. Like they weren't as progressive. They were actually a pretty cool party. 90s and stuff with Clinton, and then they kind of just went extreme, and they kind of just seemed to switch. Like there was a time the Democrats were the ones that believed in conspiracies, and conspiracies are true. They're all through history. So anyone that tries to, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist and throw you under the bus. No, conspiracies have been around for a very long time, all throughout time. And then the government always wants you just to like forget about all the things they did and just believe it. But there's a lot of stupid conspiracies out too. So that's to me is the way of muddying the waters and making everyone seem loony. But the Democrats, they were the ones. They were the party of the conspiracy and believed in all that stuff. And then they just switched, and now all of a sudden, the Republicans or the conservatives are the ones that believe in the conspiracy, which is really odd. I find it odd how it happened because I remember people like Rush when he was around, and the Blaze TV guy. I can't think of his name right now, but a lot of these guys didn't believe in conspiracies. They mocked the people that believed in them. They mocked Alex Jones. They don't like Alex Jones, and now they embrace Alex Jones. So it's crazy how things just switched. But there is a deep state, and you can see that when you see these judges doing these things to Trump. Like I said, they try to arrest Trump. It just seems like they're all working together. Like I don't know who is the deep state. We don't know exactly who's running. I mean, we have ideas, right? It's the most richest, probably bankers, super ultra rich bankers that own most of the wealth, beyond corporations, beyond your average millionaires and billionaires or whatever. We're talking money and power, and the power is more important than the money. That's probably the deep state. Who knows? A handful of families running everything. We don't know. I mean, right? Those are things that were talked about in the past, the Illuminati and stuff. But you can see with the judges trying to stop everything that Trump's trying to do, that you feel like that they're working together again. And that right there alone is just scary and sad. Um, it just tells you that we're still heading downhill to a dangerous place. As a Christian, we believe in the biggest conspiracy is yet to come, and these are the things that make us feel that way. Like, um, the Democrats and the rhinos, they're the ones to fear. That they're going to bring about the new world order, the one world government. So seeing these judges, it if you have any type of intellect, um, you can see it. You can see that they're working together, and that should put some fear in you. Who knows where we're gonna go? Like after Trump, I don't even know what's gonna happen. I mean, right now they're pushing so hard that the tariffs. It's the same game plan. Fearmonger, fearmonger, fearmonger. Trump's tariffs are going to destroy everything, and blah blah blah. Inflation. Um, with the immigration stuff, it's just there's nothing that he can do that's positive. And I do think that this stuff, the messaging from the Democrats, it works. The fear mongering works. It doesn't work on me. It doesn't work on most Christians. It doesn't work on the conservatives, obviously, but they have their foot soldiers that are always going to believe whatever they say. It doesn't matter what they say; they're just going to go with it. But the independence is, like I said, it's kind of where who everyone fights for the independent mind. Even though I'm an independent, I side more with conservatives at least for now because I'm a Christian and I align closer to them. That could change in the future. Because there's some things I don't like that conservatives and Republicans do that I feel are not godly. So who knows? Maybe there's a split in the future with that. But um, yeah, the deep state is a real thing, and it. I hope if there's any independents listening to me that just don't fall for it. You got to let it play out. Things are going to hurt a little before things get better. It's just the way it works. Like if you're changing things in your car that breaks down, and if your car is 15 years old and you're still trying to keep it alive, you're going to be putting in newer parts. Sometimes those newer parts can affect the older parts, and you're going to have to replace the older parts sooner than later. It happens. Sometimes it all has to be the same year or newer, or everything has to be together to work perfectly. So I think there is going to be some headaches in the near future. But I have I'm going to at least give Trump his time to figure it out. I think we're going to be better for it. Um, so other than that, I was going to do a movie review on the Wolfman, but I'll just tell you it's a decent movie. It's some of the better writing. It gets a little wacky. Some of the writing is glitched towards the end, but I love art and stuff like that. And I will tell you, the Wolfman did try to get you off a little bit, get you off the path. I thought it was decent writing. It's a decent movie, a decent watch. I would give it probably about a 7 out of 10. Like I said, the Indians glitch, somewhat predictable, but the way it got there, I thought was decent writing. It was different. I like the way they intertwined uh, mythology from the Native Americans and stuff like that. It was a little bit of a different take, and it's a decent movie. So, Wolfman, if you're thinking about watching it, I give it a 7 out of 10. I say it's a decent watch. Not for kids, but hey, that's your choice. Last thing I want to get into is how to keep your kids' minds protected. Okay, this is important. This is important to this whole video. Okay, I'll read from Matthew 19:14. But Jesus said, "Suffer little children and forbid them not to come unto me, for of such is the kingdom of heaven." Jesus is saying, "Let the kids come to me." You need to protect your kids. We're living in a world that's fracturing. It's morality is dissolving. Um, we're crumbling from within. A lot of people don't want to admit that. Some people like it because they like doing the evil shit they do. So they like it. They like the way. I'll give a quick story. When I was younger, I used to smoke a little bit of, the herb, I guess you would want to say. And I remember there were doing petitions in front of like Walmart to try to legalize it. So this was before it got legalized. And even though I was doing the stuff back then, I didn't want to sign that. And the reason I didn't want to sign that is because I didn't want to affect other people. I didn't know how it was going to affect children growing up. I didn't want it to be advertised, and to me, it was just a bad thing. To me, it was a thing like, hey, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it by myself. It's going to be my problem alone, right? And that's how I saw it. I didn't want it to affect others, and so what I'm basically saying here, let the kids come to Jesus. What Jesus is saying is let your kids come to me. It's like teach your kids about Jesus. Teach them. And if you're not a Christian, well, teach your kids about what's right and wrong. Every day you should be telling them, like, you should be the authority in your kid's life. And a lot of people ain't. And if you're not, then their teachers in the outside world are going to teach them. And then you're going to have kids that are misbehaving, disrespectful. This, in America, we don't. It's like we're losing our identity. We allow people to come into our country illegally, but also legally, and we don't have anyone assimilate in this country. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but this is truth. I, I'm having this channel because I'm going to speak what I feel and what I believe, and it may not be popular, but that's not. There's no point in having a show if you're not going to say what you feel. And I feel we don't have anyone assimilate in this country, and it's a big issue, because if I go to Japan or China, I'm gonna have to learn those languages. I'm gonna have to learn the culture at least to get forth. I wouldn't expect everyone to learn English for me. And here we let everyone come here and they use our laws against us, and they deteriorate us. I saw um, a thing on Twitter where um, like they had Muslims praying in I think it was in Times Square. Yeah, I believe it was in Times Square, and it bothered me because it's kind of like this is what I mean. You allow everyone to do stuff like that in your own country. They bring their stuff over here, and then they slowly deteriorate your country. I'll bring up a line in the Bible, a passage. Now I don't know exactly where it's at, but I I know it was to Solomon, and it was talking about how. Well, there's a few lines. There's, you know what? Hey, got a little bit of time. Let's ask Chatty. Hey, Chatty, I have a question for you. So, in the Bible, I know there's a few lines, but what did it say about to the Israelites when foreigners would come into the country? Didn't it say something like it was okay as long as they learned their ways? It was okay to allow the foreigner to come in.
Yes, in the Bible, particularly in the Old Testament, there are instructions about treating foreigners. For example, Leviticus 19:34 says, "The stranger who dwells among you shall be to you as one born among you, and you shall love him as yourself." This reflects the idea that foreigners were to be treated with respect and hospitality, provided they followed the community's laws and customs.
Thank you. So, see, my point is, it once again, the Bible is true, and I don't even know if you're going to hear this anywhere else. But like I'm saying, it's like it. America's lost its identity, and we deal with so many rude people. Like where I live, there's a lot of Indian people from India or Punjabis, and I would say many of them are really rude. They're nothing like, they have no American ways. They cut in front of you. They don't say thank you. Um, they're just rude in the way they act with you, like the way they drive. I mean, I have people. It's just a lot. It's a lot. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, it's a lot. Like I said, they're very rude in their manners, and this is not a hate thing. I don't hate anybody. I can't hate anybody. I'm a Christian. I want everyone to be good and succeed and not have harm onto them. But I do want people to treat my family well and at least be cordial. You know what I mean? You don't have to talk to me, but um, don't be rude. Don't be mean. And what I'm saying is, people come to our country, and since we don't have this outward identity that we forced upon them, like, hey, if you want to come here, that's fine. But if you're going to practice your religion, if it's not Christianity, you should practice it in your home. Whatever you want. If someone has a culture or whatever, a past, and they want to come to the United States, they should practice a lot of those things in their home. outside, we should all kind of just be the same. Like, hey, how you doing? Open doors for each other. Say thank you. Say please. And I think we'd all get along a lot better, and the world would, and the United States would be just a better place. You know, we wouldn't have so many issues, but we don't. We allow people to hide behind heritage and culture in the United States, and then you have issues, and then you wonder why people get angry at each other. You know what I mean? And it's sad because I don't think there's a lot of racism, but I do think there might be some uptick in it, and a lot of it is for these reasons because nobody wants to say the things they need to say, and we all need to be nicer to each other. I don't care who you are. I don't care about your past. I don't care about your ancestors' past. You come here in the United States, we do things a certain way, and if you already live in the United States, we do things a certain way. I don't need to hear, well, I'm Mexican, and I am Mexican American, or I would say American Mexican, and I'll tell you, I don't bring my Mexican heritage into the way I treat people. I don't make excuses for what happened in the past or any of that, and I don't think any race in America should do that. I don't want to hear it from the whites. I don't want to hear it from the blacks. Everyone should just be nice. You are where you are today. You know, do what you got to do to make your family better. Be nice to each other and don't make excuses. I think that's how I'm going to end this one. I want to say, once again, take care of your children. Teach them about God every morning. That's your job. So this way they believe you and not believe the world. Follow me on Twitter. Like the video, subscribe. And visit theinforminator.net. And until next time, have a good one. God bless.